Good evening, everybody. This is Pastor Dwayne, and we are here for another Thursday night of Celebrating Good News, our program here for Southside Church. Hope everybody's had a good week. We have had a great week of activities and services. Starting with Sunday was just such a good time together. If you weren't there, you can go back and watch. All of our services are archived on Facebook. Then we had Monday night small group discussion, Tuesday night prayer, Wednesday night Bible study last night with Brother George, and it was really good. It was about prejudice. Last week was about prejudice too. He did a two-part. So if you missed those, you need to watch those too. There were some good discussions. This Sunday morning, again, just to remind you, if you haven't heard, this Sunday morning when you come to church, things are going to be a little bit different. And you have to come and see what the surprise is. So if you come Sunday morning, you'll see it. If you tune in Sunday morning, you'll see our new surprise. So it's exciting. I can't wait for all of you to see what the surprise is. Some of you know. But anyway, it's starting to come. Our afternoon showers here in Orlando. So there you go. Tonight on Celebrating Good News, we have a friend of ours, a good friend of mine for a long time, and so happened to be a good friend of Pastor Shell for a long time too, Dr. William Lamb. Dr. William Lamb is a Georgia boy like me. We grew up in youth camp together, and we both wound up in Cleveland, but we're going to let him talk about his connection to Pastor Shell and kind of what the Lord has done through his life through the years. I feel like we've just kind of grown up together, and I appreciate William. He is a great friend. He's been a very good encouragement to me through the years. We miss him and his family very much down here, but thankfully we have this technology where we're able to stay in touch. So good to have you, William.
Hey, man, I'm glad to be with you guys here. And I'm just thinking, I don't know how I can get there on Sunday morning for the big surprise. So hopefully when we end this podcast or this episode today, you'll be able to at least let me know what's happening, or I'll have to tune in after the fact. So that's a nice way to set up an invite for people to come.
Yeah. And we were talking about it the other day because, the surprise sometimes gets people excited and interested. Do you remember Sunday mornings at State Convention, William, when you could not find a seat in the whole auditorium because nobody had a cell phone, nobody had, if you didn't go that Sunday morning to State Convention, you didn't know who your pastor was going to be, for the next year. So anyway, we're building up a little bit of momentum, a little bit of mystery about our Sunday morning. So
there you go.
Hopefully we'll see him. So William, you have a connection. The funny thing is, before I came down here and before I got connected with Pastor Shell, I didn't know him, and I don't know that I'd heard of him. But since I've been down here, everywhere I turn around, people are like, "Oh yeah, Shelly, I know him." And so you have a connection with Shell. Tell me about that.
I do, So there are people that are like nice guys, and then there are people like are super nice people. Well, as you guys call him, Pastor Shell, I always knew him as Shelly. He was that guy. Now, you got to get this picture. He's a little older than I am. And, he had a car back in the day, and he was driving, and I think I was 5. So that would just kind of, put the date range out there as to how old we both are. But he was connected to my family in Savannah, Georgia back in the day. And would come over, and Gary Riggins was part of that crowd and some other folks. And they would come over and, befriend my family. My family kind of made space for them to be part of our life. And he had this really fast car, and he would always, I could always get the chance to ride with him in that car. And I'm not going to tell you that he really drove it that fast, although at my young age, it seemed like it was lightning speed. But, Dwayne, people that don't know me, they don't know this about me, but I'm a little fidgety, and I'm trying to sit as calm as I can right now for this recording. But I would always put my hands all over the stuff, all over the dash, and I would turn the nice shiny buttons in that car. And one day I got in the car with Pastor Shell. I called him Shelly. I got in the car with Shelly, and all of a sudden there was this snake. It was a rubber snake. It wasn't real. on the dash, and it had a pretty common effect on me. I don't like snakes to this day, and I would attribute at least part of my hatred for snakes. If you're a snake lover out there, just forgive me, but I would attribute part of my hatred for snakes to Pastor Shell, and the other part of it to an encounter when I was in the Marine Corps. But we go way back, friends of my family. My mom and dad spoke often of he and his family, and then yeah, it just goes way back. We're friends from a long time ago that don't seem to have ever lost that connection. And when we connect, it's just kind of, like he and his brother JV, you just kind of carry on from where you were last time.
Right. So William, you right now, and I don't think I said it when I introduced you, but you're the director of the Leonard Center at Lee University, and you're a faculty member at Lee.
Sure.
You are part of the glue that holds Lee University together. I'm sure you wouldn't say that, but I'm sure other people feel that way. You've really made a mark. How long have you been at Lee?
Well, I'm stepping into my stepping into my 19th year, literally.
Wow.
By just a few days. So.
And explain a little bit. I know very well, but explain for
Sure.
everybody what the Leonard Center, the mission of the Leonard Center.
Yeah, so at Lee University, we believe in the power of service, and we believe that the theory you get in the classroom is great and fantastic, but you need some practice experience, and you need to kind of get some things, some tangible contributions to people and make a difference in the world. So in 2003, the Leonard Center was birthed on the campus of Lee University as, in short form, kind of the service learning center. You can broaden it by saying volunteerism, although it's more than just volunteerism. It's an academic reflection-based program in which we do service as part of the academic rigor and as part of the academic experience. And so a quick example of that could be that, income tax preparedness, right? So if you're an accounting major, you can volunteer with a national organization that we do part of that here on our campus, called VITA, which is Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, where you're doing income taxes for people that are below the poverty line who need that additional resource for free. And so in doing so, you're helping a family in need. And I think that last year, the number was a little over $450,000 of refunds that were collected because of somebody volunteering their time to help somebody in need. So it's kind of an idea like that. And I've been at the helm of that post since 2003 when we launched it. And funny story, I came here with a bachelor's, now I have a PhD, so I actually get to do the classroom stuff too. So it's a lot of fun. So that's what we do. A lot of colleges around, especially in the United States, do this, also internationally. And so it's been a challenge for us with COVID because we're moving most everything to virtual service now versus tangible hands-on service for obvious reasons. But the students are jumping on board, and we know that it's making life better for the students. And we see that over the course of these years, story after story of transformation stories of people who learned or either developed a particular skill that had been, placed in them at an early age, and they develop it by simply going out and tutoring somebody or doing, some kind of other assistance that's necessary.
Right. Well, servant leadership's really kind of been a common thread through your life, as far as I've seen, William, because you and I used to work youth conferences together. We worked youth camps together. All this kind of stuff. I mean, like you said, you have a lot of energy, but that energy, but your energy is not like put into, as far as I've seen, not like the golf course or anything like that. It's into serving and really making a difference. If you're serving your church, or if you're serving the state or Lee University, it's all about kind of, from what I've seen, making connections with people too. And you just did, last year, you did a TED Talk about your time when you were a school bus driver, because that was a time when you're able to really just hit kids, head on, and making a difference, and kids from all kinds of backgrounds that you wouldn't have normally connected with, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I married my wife in 1988, and she happened to be a bus contractor. So in our county in Tennessee, the buses are owned by individual contractors, and that's, common with some municipalities across, our landscape. But there are other states and other cities that do that. But so when I married her, I was still in college, finishing up some school, and so I started driving a school bus, and turned out that I did that over off and on over about 10 years, and figured out that that my love for kids was greater than I'd even imagined. And you mentioned a moment ago, kind of meeting people from a different population or different demographic than what I experienced, and that was entirely true. While my family didn't grow up with a lot of excess, we had obviously areas of lack in our life, but I'd never really experienced poverty until I started driving a school bus and noticing that some of these kids were living in just overwhelming areas of poverty, and that my job was to make life work for them for the short amount of time that they were on the bus. And so the early mornings, I don't want to take too much of the context of the TEDx talk. I'd rather people go look at it. It'd be great to do that. You can get it by going to just go to Google and Google William Lamb TEDx, or you can go to my website, williamlamb.org, and you'll also find a link there. But
I'll link it in the comments too.
Okay, yeah. But one of the things I learned is that the kids on the bus, they just wanted, it was a ride for them, but for me, it was more important. It was an opportunity to make them know they matter and to let them know that they were important. And so, back in the day, I don't know what it's like to do that today, but back in the day, 25 years ago, 28 years ago now, I had a box of Bibles at the front of the bus every Christmas, and would offer for a student to grab a Bible if they wanted one. And some would get it and some wouldn't, I was not a good businessman. I used to sell Cokes on my bus, canned Cokes for $0.25, and I think I paid $0.25 for them, so I didn't make any money, But it was a great way to, sure, I don't know what it's like to do that now in Florida. Nobody as a bus driver should try that, I don't suppose, today. But back in that time, what it built for me was the opportunity to let these students know that they were important. And then, you remember this term, the backyard tutoring program was kind of birthed out of my driving the school bus. And that's kind of what put me on the radar at Lee University. And one of the reasons that I'm here is because, we were able to create an opportunity for students to, that had not been, introduced to the church movement or had not been aware of, as a general rule, a holistic family. A lot of times there was a lot of issues in their life, and that little moment where college kids would cross the tracks and begin to tutor these kids in their neighborhood was an eye-opener for both sides of the desk, as my friend Gary Riggins and co-founder says. It kind of illuminated both sides of the desk, the student and the teacher. And so we boast unashamedly of a tremendous amount of success from those days. And so the TEDx tells 3 specific stories of students that rode my school bus. I introduced them as the kids from hell. So that you got a surprise happening on Sunday. Maybe that will cause people to go want to watch the talk, because they actually have impacted my life. These 3 students have, along with a lot of others, in pretty amazing ways. Yeah.
Well, that's great. You've just like I say, what I've observed of you through the years is, you come alongside people and help them, and just like the Bible says, bear their burdens, help them bear their cross, break their cross sometimes. Right?
Tell the story, Dwayne. Tell the story. You got to tell the story.
I was looking for a way to introduce that. So William, ever since then, he's felt terrible, and I'm just going to tell the story. I'm not going to shame him at all, but we had this awesome service at camp years ago, and they had given out crosses, these little wooden crosses that everybody had around their neck, and the Lord just, they were cheap, that's right, little cheap like plywood crosses or something. But the Lord just used me in the service one night. It was just powerful. It's like a service I'd never been in. And so after camp, I just hung it around my rearview mirror.
Yeah,
And I think you and I were driving to Pigeon Forge, maybe. Is that when we are going up to look at youth conference or whatever?
I
And
think so.
just like what William said earlier about fidgeting and doing things in the car and messing with dials and stuff, he reaches up and touches that cross, and it just crushed it. It just, the whole thing just crumbled when he touched it. And so from then on, William is, he just, every once in a while, he'd be like, I'm sorry I broke your cross. I'm sorry I broke your cross. He does something nice for me. He'll say, does this make up for breaking your cross? It does. It's only a funny story. I didn't hold it against you back then. So
yeah,
it was just a symbol.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, and here's the reason why. Because especially with this whole COVID-19, I was in Honduras this year when the news made it to the States. I had students from Lee University there, and we had to stay 3 more days. We caught the last flight out of Honduras, and so it was kind of it was just a difficult time, as many people are experiencing. But wooden crosses and little plastic snakes on top of dashboards and any other number of tangible thing we can talk about, Dwayne, all that stuff's going to disappear. But at some point, it's going to lose its value. It's going to get lost. It's probably not going to be, as important to maybe the next generation that acquires it. But the one thing about that cross that was hanging around, your rearview mirror, was it gave you and I a memory. It gave us a memory to you can go all the way back to that moment in that camp when God transformed you and used you. But also it gave us a reminder that while things are fragile, people are also fragile, but also we can keep a memory alive as long as we want to, that I'm going to always, every time I see you, when I'm 100 years old, and I need somebody to drive me around, I dare you to put a cross on the rearview mirror. I may have to reach up and grab it,
I'm going to get all this extracurricular stuff off the dash when that happens.
Yeah, but it's a good reminder to me that that people need to know that they're important to somebody else, and while that cross had some similarity for us between different times in our lives, what grew out of all of that, I think, was the reality that man, we have common ground, and we've got friendship, and we talk, and we don't talk every day, but just like with Pastor Shell, we pick up from the last conversation, and I think that right now people need to know a couple of things. Number one, it was never God's intent when he created you that you live in isolation. It's God's intent that we live in community, and he calls us to the community, and also the church is a good example of that community. And then the other thing is that we all have a contribution to make, and the sooner we recognize that I have something of value to offer somebody else, then life seems to go better. And right now, in a no-touch society where everything is distant, I think it's important to take a moment and laugh and remember the good moments and the bad moments and the guilty moments and the not so guilty moments, because that's how the world seems to tick, is through people connecting with one another.
Yeah. William gave me I just remembered now, you gave me a grill, that Weber grill.
I did.
That's what he said. Hope this makes up for breaking your cross. That's a great grill too.
I wouldn't know. You haven't cooked for me yet.
I know. Come down. If you come down to Orlando, I guarantee you I'll cook for you.
Tell me when. We'll book it.
I know one thing. If you don't start cooking before the sun goes down here, you're eat up with bugs. So you have to cook in the daylight here or in a screened porch. We don't have. William, I wanted to ask you too, there was one other part of your ministry that I haven't addressed, but you minister to early responders there in Cleveland, right? Or that's been something that you've done. Were you a chaplain or?
I still am. I'm in my 12th year as a chaplain with Bradley County Emergency Services. And that, encompasses fire department, sheriff department, first responders, EMS, paramedics, even the 911 dispatchers, So I've been doing this for quite a while. And And so basically it's just a nice way. You know, I work in a service learning industry at the university. And so while, you know, I champion the idea for other people to serve, I figured out that I need to continue doing that myself. And so this is my contribution of time and effort back to the community. And over the years, I've enjoyed it. I mean, I'm able now to, you know, actually, as you say in the business, have fun and participate, you know, on a fire, because I have a skill set that I've developed over the time, you know, and credentials and you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, it's a good journey. But there again, I'm finding out that, you know, there are a lot of things that we get opportunities to do, but when you find that fit, that thing where that connects you, I think Frederick Buechner said, you know, one day that the whole idea is where my the deep needs of the world, you know, and my desire to help kind of marry one another and meet. It's in those intersections that, you know, we can make a big difference. And I kind of found out that my contribution to emergency services, it works, and it seems like I was made for that. You know, I got a son who's a lieutenant with the fire department, and so I love it, and it's a good way to do it. So I want to encourage your listeners and those who are watching to pay attention to you know, those things inside of you that you can contribute to make a difference. It's probably at that junction that you can find a fit somewhere and you know, invest in people's lives. So,
right,
Dwayne, I teach our students a couple of things. Everywhere I go, I usually will mention this. And I would encourage those who are watching this tonight to do this. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a little teaching lesson. Is that okay, Dwayne? Can I do that real quick?
please.
And so I want you to take 30 seconds, and I'm going to look at my watch, and I'll take the 30-second count for you, and I'll tell you when to start and when to stop. And I want you to look. Now, if you're watching this by while you're driving down the road, don't get in trouble on the highway with this. But when I say go, I want you to take 30 seconds. I want you to look around the room, and I want you to look for the not so obvious. What are the things that you're seeing? Not the screen where me and Dwayne are at, but the areas that you're seeing that are different than things you had seen before. And we'll start with the time right now. All right, time's up. Write down a couple of those things that you looked around and you saw, the things that are not so obvious. All right, write them down really quick. Just take a second, write them down. All right, we'll do another 30 seconds. This time, I want you to listen for all the noises that you hear. Listen to all the different things that you hear, and your time begins now. All right, take a second, jot down all the things you heard really quick. Jot them down. Dwayne, we'll see how the test worked. What were some of the things you heard in that 30 seconds of silence?
Me? Yeah.
I said, what were some of the things you heard?
I heard a little bit outside, but mostly I hear the air conditioner unit running.
Yeah. When you looked around the room, what are some of the things you saw?
Pictures that I haven't really noticed. There's a bunch of pictures on the wall, but the ones I looked at the less obvious ones, studied the ones that I don't normally look at.
The reason I asked you guys to do that little exercise, and here's the reason why. If we can train our brain, our mind, our eyes, more importantly, our heart, our spirit, to look for the not so obvious. What are the things that other people are not seeing? And then also, if we can train ourselves in the same way to listen for what other people either can't or won't tell us. It's in that intersection that we usually can have a great opportunity to make impact. So many years ago, I saw a community that was often neglected, that other people didn't frequent. They didn't pay much attention to it. You know, they were kind of an isolated, secluded group of folks. And over the years, I developed relationships with people, and now we boast of 25 years of students crossing the tracks every week to make a difference in the lives of other people. And, there's a lot of people that won't tell you how they're really feeling, but if you're able to discern and listen and strike up a conversation with them, you might be an instrument that God will use to be available at a very critical part of their life. So I teach students that all the time, Dwayne, because in the busyness that we get ourselves caught in, if we're not careful, if we don't slow down enough, we're going to miss a lot of opportunities. And somebody happened to listen to you one day, and somebody took an interest in your life. And so I think that's kind of the same for all of us. And I think we have to return that and be responsible. So my contribution to the community, it's just because it's what I feel led to do. But it doesn't matter where you give, where you serve, those two factors are really important. Look and listen always, because it's going to open some doors of opportunity.
Right. That's good. That's good, William. Thank you for sharing. Well, thank you, William. We really appreciate it. I know you were able to squeeze us in today, and I know you're a busy guy, but you can do, if anybody can do a bunch of different things, it's you. I know that. So come see us sometime. Come be in church with us.
Yeah.
You got a beautiful William's got a beautiful family, wife, 3 boys, 3 daughter-in-laws, and a bunch of grandkids, right?
You know what?
Growing by leaps and bounds.
The third one is on the way. I don't know if you caught that or not, but Nick and Caitlin are having their first one. So I've got, my kids, got their names. Let me see if I can remember their names. I'm just kidding. I know their names, but the 2 names that keep coming to the forefront most are Elijah and Everly. And so those are my grandbabies. And, Anza and I have been doing this deal for 32 years together, and it's been a wonderful journey. And those grandbabies, man, I'm telling you, they're awesome. And so I tell you, Dwayne, that you got 3 little beautiful babies yourself, but I tell you, when Everly, I FaceTimed her yesterday, they're down in Florida actually on vacation right now. And we FaceTimed yesterday, and Tyler looked at the phone, answered the phone, and said to Everly, he said, "Who is that?" And she looked at me and she said, Papa. Well, you got to believe it caused me to want to stop everything else I was doing and listen to her and look at her. And I want to encourage your listeners today, this evening, that no matter what's going on in your life, if you cry out and say, Jesus, he's going to stop. If it's 1,000 of us at the same millisecond, he's still going to look at every one of us and say yes. And so, man, it's been great to be with you guys. Good memories with you. Good memories with Pastor Shell. And maybe we'll get a chance to get down there to Orlando, and I'll see what it's like off of that big grill you got.
Yeah, that's right. I'm comfortable enough to where I won't be completely embarrassed if you eat my cookies.
Do it, man. Do it.
Hey, we love you.
Thanks.